Issue 252. We start out with someone in a cloak running through the woods being chased, and the people chasing him get attacked with magic, and one of them says to not let her run wild with no clue what she's doing, and they hope she won't find Sonic. Sonic fights some badniks as they wonder why he's on Mobius right now when that could risk someone seeing him. He thinks of the badniks as being the Dracon's badniks and shows humility because he thinks he's in no fit state to stop their empire. The badniks get blown up from the sky by the person in the cloak who shows faith in him and wants to help him. Rather than Sonic being remotely grateful, he tells her to cut out getting inside his head, being paranoid. Somebody knows ahead of time that it's Ebony who's in the cloak. It's been a while since he's had a creator's pet moment where he knows something that he shouldn't. Ebony says she's being hunted by the Order of Magic, and it even spells magic wrong like an Archie. So it's like the Order of Ixis if it was actually used properly in a story. Ebony says that the Order of Magic has no interest in what goes around Mobius unless it's magical and won't help Sonic at all, let alone help Mobius against the Badnik invasion. Selfish assholes. Then Ebony complains about them wanting permits and qualifications for everything, refusing to let Ebony use magic without their supervision. That I get. I'm reminded of Sabrina the Teenage Witch with the Other Realm Council thing, where there's rules against using magic in certain ways, and no doubt surveillance to make sure people are using magic without breaking those rules. I totally get why that'd be a thing to prevent everyone from abusing magic all the time and making every witch a stereotypical evil witch. Like, privacy breaking or not, that'd be necessary to make most of the mages behave. Ebony really doesn't get it if this makes her rebellious. She bitches that it's a violation of free will and is somehow no better than what Eggman wants to do to Mobius, because making sure that people don't horribly abuse magic is just as evil as badnikifying people. Ebony says that she's tired and needs to recharge her power, so Sonic has to protect her when the Order comes over and get her away from them. Sonic lampshades that he's got his own problems to deal with. And one of the people of the Order says that Ebony's dangerous somehow and must be subdued. Ebony says, see, they want to take my power! That's an odd conclusion to jump to from that right away. Like, you think subdued would mean, like, arrested and put in jail. You'd think they'd have the magical surveillance to know she's a good person and there's nothing to worry about with her. After Sonic gets Ebony away from the Order, he frustrates me by saying he hates magic just because of the barriers appearing out of nowhere, even though he's a magical hedgehog who just uses magic. And he complains, and I really wanted to hit something not made of metal. Built up resentment towards people from being banished from Mobius, perhaps? After all, people aren't evil robots. He's talking like he wants to beat up organics for a change, which would make perfect sense after his reputation was ruined. Also, why would Ebony know to correct Sonic's spelling of magic in the text box with the stupidly incorrect spelling of it? That's a dumb fourth wall breaking joke. Ebony creates a pretty looking design on the ground and warps herself and Sonic away, and the story ends with Sonic meeting Blaze. Oh, the Soul Dimension's in Fleetway too. Sonic should come live here as his new main home, since Mobius is out, and even the anti-Mobius wouldn't want someone around who looks like their old evil King Sonic. In the next story, we see Tails on the outskirts of Metropolis with the resistance of the Nameless Zone. Moraine says the place is beautiful and thinks everything's so big for some reason when she doesn't live in a small world. Pippa, I think that's her name, says that while this looks amazing to her for some reason, it's also sorrowful. How would she get that feeling? And the guy agrees and thinks about making poetry like he apparently always does. At least that's trying to give Trent a personality. Tails says that he's making them stay on Mobius for a few weeks to get some perspective on what a real war is. He tells them to stay close to him as they wonder how he's going to explain this to his friends, and Pippa makes me smile with the funny line, "Can we go shopping? I want to go shopping," out of nowhere. We see the second day where Pippa is described as being like a girl from the past, wide-eyed and surrounded by aliens and beauty. She's told that she looks gorgeous with her new outfit, much better than the peasant outfit from earlier. Trent is in the library and takes a lot of interest in the war against Eggman, and the sheer technology here amazes him. Moraine is described as staying quiet most of the time because of pride refuses to let her admit that Tails is right. Norris, in front of a TV, tells her that there is a TV show that depicts Tails' famous missions with a sadly humanoid-looking burly fox representing him, like Titan Tails if he at least had clothes on. Moraine says that because of the hero worship Tails is getting, maybe his letters were accurate all along. This is what's good about Tails being the new hero of Mobius. By the 5th day, Moraine fights some robot troopers complaining that if she had this kind of firepower in the Nameless Zone, it'd be easier to deal with what she calls goblin scum. Tails tells her not to talk about home because if Eggman ever discovered it, it would be worse than all the goblins combined. Yeah, remember when Eggman said he can see everything his badniks can? Wouldn't he think to put microphones on them to hear everything too? You'd think he would have already heard about the Nameless Zone. Then Tails doesn't let Kintobor so much as comment about Moraine, saying disrespectfully, "Kintobor, don't you have satellites to hack? I'll power you down for a while so you don't get distracted. Don't try to be like Sonic, Tails. Not being a jerk to your friends is what makes you better than him." After he says that the stuff back home should seem smaller in front of a giant robot, we skip to day 9, where Amy, who has her hair up like good old times, assumes that the Resistance are Tails' cousins, and she says she'll take all the help she can get. Then when she asks Amy where Sonic is, Amy shoots a wanted poster of Sonic with a crossbow angrily, as Moraine says that she met Knuckles describing him. Frustratingly enough, we don't see any fucking reaction from Amy about the revelation that Moraine met Knuckles and mistook him for Sonic. That was really dumb, a complete wasted opportunity for some dialogue there. Then on day 12, Moraine says in front of a portal to the Nameless Zone that the Resistance may be coming back here. She admits that her brother's efforts may be making a difference that she was too proud to admit, that things are safer, cleaner, and better over there because of him, and all she's done is get a rise out of her enemies. Redeeming her character a little, Moraine admits that she's a born fighter who needs a just cause, and she says that when the shaky truce with the goblins will get sorted, Mobius will be the Resistance's new cause. We'll never see them go to Mobius and do that, by the way. The story ends with Tails walking away satisfied, as Pippa says that what'll bring her back to Mobius is shopping endearingly, while Trent says the food's better here. It makes sense since the technology is more advanced, so there'd be like no mold in the food and stuff. And now for the next story, where Espio tries not to panic at Shadow aiming a gun at him. Guzzly says to him, "Put that gun away, Shadow, you look ridiculous. You of all people don't need it," and vanishes. That's the most calm, reasonable explanation of why Shadow shouldn't have a gun that I've ever seen. I then have a big smile and giggle when Omni says in the mug in Vector's hand, "Will you stop sloshing me about? Your coffee's over there! It's the red mug, remember? I hope he doesn't try to drink him." Vector seems to think that Kintobor's old security program is Shadow. If that's the case, Shadow should have immediately told Espio that. Shadow knows about the destruction of the Special Zone and even taunts the Chaotix about it, calling them idiots running scared. So how does he know this if he's not the real Shadow? Espio impressively disarms Shadow with his tongue, while amusingly speaking differently with his tongue out, and Shadow punches him since he gave himself away, which also makes me smile, as does seeing Vector wince at the sight. And Omni makes me giggle with a great big smile, saying, "What's going on? My vision has been obscured by that sugar you poured in here." Espio foolishly tries to taunt Shadow's punching ability, saying that it's hard to believe he beat Sonic in a fight. Shadow says he can't take credit for that, revealing that he's a digital counterpart of Shadow created by Kintobor as an avatar to monitor cyberspace. So I guess he knows about the Special Zone destruction from the internet, but then why would he mock the Chaotix for it evilly? Why would he be evil at all then? Shadow explains that he doesn't know who's been maintaining him since Eggman was created. It's some guy with a username. Shadow says that programs can't meet their users. Espio plans to track his user down to make him less of a jerk, and Shadow gets protective, threatening Espio if he ever hurts his user. Espio asks Shadow how he feels about Eggman, saying that his predecessor died for him. He did? So when he said he chose to save lives, does that mean he chose to save Eggman of all people? That's dumb. Plus he said lives, not life. So that would mean multiple people. Shadow calls out satisfyingly, "Robotnik?" He's an overweight child, a pathetic wretch of a dictator swathed in filthy clothes on a sweat-encrusted throne, wallowing in power they just deserve for a second. I have no time for that egg-obsessed fool. That's all Espio needs to hear. Then he asks Shadow if he'll assist him and his strike team in freeing cyberspace from Eggman's control. Shadow says he's doing just fine without what he calls interfering clouds, being a prideful antisocial reminding me of Worlds Collide. And Espio returns home while Shadow has some cocky punk dialogue that I wouldn't expect from him. then it turns out that Vector really did drink Omni, and Omni complains about it amusingly with formal stuck-up speech. In the next story, we see the Household Keepers HQ in Hilltop Zone, where we see that the public pool in the former moat of Citadel Robotnik is now filled with raw sewage, and some robots demolishing Scrap Brain Zone have rebuilt several blocks into a giant Eggman statue, and the irrigation project in Dust Hill Zone was sabotaged, spilling millions of gallons of water into nothing. All of this is the evil Rouge's fault. Finally, though, she's been tracked down by people from that university earlier who know that she lives in Starlight Zone, or at least visits it a lot. We see some people in Starlight Zone getting knocked out because it's not known how badly the zone's security network was compromised, so it's better for no one to see them on their way to find Rouge. Suddenly, after they break through a window to Rouge, some Birdmobians say that they're arresting Rouge because she's in their jurisdiction, and because the two groups start to argue, this gives Rouge time to have a flash grenade stun them so she can get away. And the last page is wasted. The first story was by Mike Corker, and it's about Ebony on the run from the Order of Ixis, not Ixis? Order Magic, who wants to monitor Ebony's use of magic to keep her from abusing it. I guess she cast a spell so that they weren't able to monitor her anymore, and so she's on the run from them. Sweetly enough, she knows that Sonic's innocent from faith alone, which makes sense for the kind of person who still had faith in Super Sonic after he turned evil again twice. It's like a positive side to her overly idealisticness. But then after a whole bunch of talking, she sends him to Blaze's dimension for some reason. Again, Sonic should make this place his new home. It's got people who look like Mobians in it and everything. The second story is by Jamie J and has the resistance of the Nameless Zone see Mobius for themselves and realize that they should come back to it for various reasons. We'll never see them again, by the way. It was pretty charming seeing the variety of ways they reacted to the place. And I liked Moraine getting some self-awareness, admitting that she's been extreme, and Errol's doing some good. The third story was by the same person and has this shadow revealed as a digital program in cyberspace made to defend it from the Eggman invaders. So it's like, in Heroes, like, it was implied that maybe it was a fake shadow. So Fleetway Sonic is going with the idea that we actually are getting Shadow replaced with a fake Shadow, which is an interesting alternate scenario. So he's a fake Shadow, but all he does is bicker with Espio and insists that he doesn't need his help. Why did Kintavor program him to be the kind of jerk who would mock the destruction of the Special Zone? Seriously, why? Why would he have the same personality as the evil Shadow? And the fourth story is by Robert Fraser, and it's a waste of time as Rouge's terrorism isn't stopped at all since the two teams looking to arrest her argue with each other, letting her get away. I'd enjoy seeing an evil Rouge a lot more if I knew right away what her motive and prudent excuse was, instead of her having no reason for anything she's doing. Instead, she's just confusing. But I have a much easier time buying someone with a design like this being